Facebook about the UDP, the NPP, what's, you know, the dynamics of what's really going on. I mean, it has taken a whole new dimension now, because it's becoming an ethnic conversation where it seems to all gear up towards you know, a trajectory of tribalism and you know, ethnic borderline conflict within the party. But one thing you can notice is that it's not only it's not limited, this seemingly infighting. I like to choose my words carefully. This seemingly infighting and whatever else is going on, it's just not unique to the UDP, because we can tell, we've seen the same thing. NPP is suffering almost the same fate, and we've seen a breakaway splinter group. And wow, so 1 minute the sun was really hot, I came outside, then it's become so windy, then now it's drizzling, almost kind of like it's raining, and it can only be in England. Only be in England. If anybody tells you you're as unpredictable as the English weather, you should just probably go and kill yourself. It can only happen in England. It's raining now. Oh boy, I don't even know if I have to stop the live and go inside or I have to come back again. Yeah, so basically what we see and what is happening. Okay, I'll start with the UDP, and I know a lot of people would say, okay, but you've resigned from the UDP, you can't talk about the UDP, but that's not true, that's not factual. The UDP is a democratic party. It's a registered entity in the Gambia, and the topic of discussion has national interest bearing. If UDP is elected into office, UDP would govern the entire Gambia, irrespective of political affiliation, irrespective of ethnic background, irrespective of status, irrespective of religious views or whatever it is, you know. So it's a topic that everybody can. Wow, it's raining. That everybody can really talk about and just have a say. And then of course the NPP. I'm not a registered member of the NPP party. Don't have any affiliation with NPP party, but of course, again, it's a public interest subject and discussion. So we will talk about it. We will speak about it. Sorry, I gotta do something real quick. Sorry, guys, just give me a minute. Just a minute, guys. Sorry, guys, just a minute. I beg your pardon, just a minute. You see, the sun is coming out again, right? Wow, thank you. Angleterre is very, very unique. The sun is coming out again now. It's actually blinding my eye. Just 1 second, guys. I need to just do this. I'm on Facebook Live. That's why I can't pick up your call. What's up? What? I don't understand. Oh, who are you there with? Yeah. But the thing is, see, I'm on Facebook Live and everybody's hearing what I'm saying. The thing is, I think the other lady left with them, so we need to buy more stuff. So is that something we can do right now? Yeah, figure it out. I'm just on Facebook Live. I'll be done shortly. Okay. All right. I'm so sorry. I apologize, guys. I just had a very important call. I had to pick it up. It was urgent. Some things they're doing for me back home in Banjul, so I had to sort something out. Yeah, so I was saying I'm not also a member of the party. I'm not affiliated to the NPP party. But again, the conversation that is going on is one that is taking a very interesting dimension. So it's something we'll talk about. I mean, I've talked about the APRC. I'm not a registered member of the APRC. In fact, people have labeled me as a Jammeh sympathizer just because I've looked at things in a very objective way, you know, very objective manner. So basically, you can say everything about Jammeh. You can call him the worst dictator that ever lived. You can say whatever it is that, you know. You can talk about his human rights, you know, scores or whatever it is, or however you want to put it. But also, what you cannot say, and this is what I've always said, and that's why people think I'm a bit of a Jammeh sympathizer. But the thing is, though, what I realize is that we have a society of people where people are very vindictive, you know, very vindictive, and their vindictiveness is affected. It affects their objective reasoning and judgment of things. So they can't look at things objectively without having that vindictive lens where they see things, and that's the only sort of objectivity that they can sum up in their minds, in their thoughts, in their you know, in their faculties, their reasoning ability, the cognitive ability. Really, it's all shrouded in that pathway where it is what they feel, it is their emotions that guide it. And I try not to do that. I'm not a person. I'm not moved by emotion. So I react to things. I'll say stuff 5 minutes after I'm done with it. I've gone. I have other things to do. I have better things to do. If I was a person that you know, tend to stick to everything, I think I'll be a dead or madman by now. So it's just different. So like Jammeh, you cannot divorce the things. I mean, the 22 years of governance, of infrastructure, of institutional structures that he set up, basically. I mean, a lot of things that Jammeh did are good. They're solid structures that have transcended from one dispensation to another, and people are still thriving on them. In fact, some of the NPP projects that we all see that are going on were Jammeh, you know, were Jammeh projects. These were policies that Jammeh crafted, and of course, before implementation, he was taken out of office. And of course, the same thing will happen with Barrow. I mean, there would be projects, there would be policies that whoever comes after Barrow, regardless of how long he rules, would have to implement, because governance is continuity. It goes from one government to another. That's effective governance. It continues. You don't stall it. You don't stop it and try to start again, because if you do that, then what happens is you bring more issues to that country, because the way governments were done, the way the modern systems that of operation in governance and in democracy and in just the world that we're in now is patterned in such a way that it borders on continuity. You know, there's it's like a relay race. Someone takes the baton and then it hands it over to somebody else, and then you move on. That's how it's done. So what the government of the day should always do is to pick the good from what was left, discard the bad, or amend it in such a way, tailor make it in such a way that it would be effective for your own style of governance, but what is really good and effective for the majority of people that you rule over. So everything about Jammeh cannot be bad, and that's what I've always said. And if that makes me a Jammeh sympathizer, then so be it. But anyways, let's get back to the UDP. So for me, the way I see it, election is next year. The UDP is a formidable party. It's one of the largest opposition parties in the country. There's no two shakes about it. You can't speak otherwise of the United Democratic Party. It's a party with effective structures. It's a party that has been resilient, a party that has survived the odds, a party that has really carved its niche, really, in Gambian political trajectory. And so really you have to give kudos to them. You have to give them that. So really, whatever dynamics is at play politically, the UDP has a say and has a stake. So of course, a year before elections, it is just proper. And the reason why I'm doing this video is I see a lot of people worrying, a lot of people, you know, to be honest, are troubled with what is going on, the different alleged factions or seeming factions that are going on, and the interface, the interplay between these factions and the overall objective of the party. Now, this is what I'm going to say. It is normal. It is very, very normal. It is normal in any dispensation for people to, you know, sort of have divergent views, especially when it's coming to an election year. But what cannot be normal, is if you want to give it an ethnic face, to make the subject, reduce the subject to ethnicity. I don't think that has ever been a problem with the UDP. I know for sure a lot of people have branded the UDP as a Mandinka party, and I've always said I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that. I did not experience that. Yes, in every society, okay, so I'll give a classic example. So as a then member of the UDP, I was part of so, you know, I go into so many platforms like the online Bantaba and stuff. But because I can't speak Mandinka, most of the conversations were always done in Mandinka, like the voice messages, things that were sent into the WhatsApp group were always done in Mandinka. And for me, because I don't understand and because I don't speak Mandinka, it was so difficult for me to follow the conversation. So most of the time, when a voice message comes in and it's in the Mandinka language, I have to now follow the comments to really understand what the subject matter was about, to even sort of get an idea of that conversation. But then, the thing is, when I sat down and I looked at it, I get to understand that, okay, the overwhelming majority of the UDP membership are from the Mandinka tribe. So it is just normal, it is just right, it is just fitting that they would discourse in a language and in a way and manner that they understand. That's just common sense, it's just logic. That's what they understand. So even though I felt like I was being left out in such a way, but then when you go deeper to look at the objectivity of it all, and look at it in a very open, you know, with an open mind, you will get to understand that they were not doing that to shut me out. They were not doing that to show me that I'm not part of the party because I was not from the Mandinka ethnicity, or I was not Mandinka. No, that was not the reason why they were doing that. Why they were doing that, it's just normal. If I was sitting with a group of Aku people and we're talking, I would mostly be speaking in Aku. If I was talking with my friends and we're doing stuff, I'll mostly speak in the English language because that's the lingua franca that we communicate by. That's how we talk. So rather than me interpreting that as the UDP is a Mandinka party, no, I did not. After a while, I realized that okay, I wasn't gaining much from this group, and I was having a lot of stuff in my mind, so I exited the group. But when I want to have information or things happen, I would call people, you know, I would call Seydou Lee, the chairman. I will ask, what is going on? What's happening with this and this? I will ask questions. But it does not and would never make me feel that, oh, it's a Mandinka party. It's not. The objectives cannot be focused on that. Now, I see a lot of people attacking and trying to you know, take swabs and jabs at Chairman Sonko for what he said. But then again, if you look at what he said, based on the arguments he was referring to and based on the circumstance of what was said, he had a point. What he was trying to say is, if you feel, and this is objective, this is just right, if you feel that you cannot support an individual because of their ethnicity, then obviously feel free to go form your own party and then, you know, install whoever you want. I think that's a fair comment. And the reason why he said that, I mean, if you look at Chairman Sonko, from what I've seen, most of the time he concentrates on his council, on his region, on on the things that he's doing as chairman of West Coast region. That's what he mostly concerns himself about. But of course, like I said, this is a public interest subject. It was taking a different dimension to a point like people were going with daggers against each other for something that we all don't know, because the UDP is a democratic party. They've got democratic processes. So I'm sure when the right time comes, they will find a point of convergence. People will come together. There will be a meeting of the minds, and people would decide on what best works for the party in terms of leadership, in terms of flag bearership. But Chairman Sonko's remarks was not, he wasn't saying that the UDP will only be a Mandinka party. I've had issues with Chairman Sonko before. So for example, when he won the elections and said that he would only, first and foremost, what he would do first is take on his party supporters. I had a conversation with him, and I told him, I don't believe, oh, sorry. I keep saying Sonko. I'm sorry. It's not Sonko. I'm referring to Young's Dabo. Chairman Dabo. It was Sonko that was there before. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, and I told him, I said to him, Chairman Dabo, and I said this on YouTube. I said, I don't agree with that comment. I said, when you were voted into office, you were not only voted by UDP. Yes, you were a candidate that thrived under the UDP party. But when you became a leader, you became a leader for the entire region, for every Gambian, irrespective of political affiliation. But of course, as a foremost politician, he said that. And I don't think he said that out of malice. I don't think he said that, in a vindictive way. I thought that was just a slip. That was just a passionate person, after all the struggles, after all the obstacles and things. And he was so passionate to say that, oh yeah, I'm going to pick on, my own UDP party. No, but I told him this. We had a conversation on the phone, and I told him exactly how I felt. I had a conversation on UDP Bantaba. I said this to the chairman, Hussein Ali, that was wrong. He shouldn't have said that. But that aside, his leadership skill, what he's been able to do with Brikama and the surrounding areas of close proximity under his purview has been nothing but phenomenal. You gotta give him that. It's been phenomenal. It's been amazing. It's been brilliant. So I don't think his statement where he said, or if you don't like the fact that the UDP has a Mandinka leadership, then you need to go elsewhere and form your own party. But I guess this was out of frustration. He was responding to something. And one thing is in Gambia, people read what you write, and then they give it the interpretation that best fuels and best suits their own understanding and their own needs. So that's just what it is. It's just a pattern. It's just a simple pattern. What they want to see is what they will see. But that's fine. That's people for you. You can't get everybody to see things from your own perspective. So now we go to the mayor, the honorable mayor, your lordship, Talib Bensouda. He's a phenomenal person, a brilliant leader. He's doing absolutely amazing in KMC, and he's a very amiable person. He's open. He's got a loving and warm character, and people like him. People love him, and people are gonna like him. You see, so he's a likable person. Now, of course, it's just natural that you would have people that would think that, okay, you know what? We've had this, the UDP has been ongoing for a while. Maybe it's time to give another person, opportunity to be at the helm, to carry the flag bearership. It's just normal. People will be passionate about such things. These are things that happen sometimes you even have your bosses, but you prefer one to the other. It's just normal. You live with your mom and dad at home, but you sometimes just feel your mom is like, the best person, the go-to person. You have all that little support where you give one more support than the other. It's natural. I don't think it's born out of malice or anything. However, what is not natural is when people try to forcefully install their beliefs and their ideologies into others. So it's natural, very natural, that you would have people that support Chairman Young's Dabo. It is very natural that you will have people that support Talib Bensouda. And it is very natural also that these individuals can even like Talib more than Dabo, more than lawyer Ousainou Dabo. That is just natural. So you can have people that can like a Landing Sane. It's natural. Maybe what they see in Talib Bensouda, they don't see it in Youngs Dabo. Maybe what they see in Youngs Dabo, they don't see it in a Landing Sane. Maybe what they see in Landing Sane, they don't see it in lawyer Ousainou Dabo. That is their inherent God-given right. You can't take away that from them. However, where it becomes problematic is when you want to infuse your objectivity, your reasoning, your line of seeing things into others. So because you see all the good attributes and qualities of Talib, it does not mean that by and force you have to install those attributes into the people that see Youngs as a better leader and want to force them to see things from your perspective. That is dictatorial. That will never work, and it will only be a recipe for disaster. Because people would see things differently. People will see things from different perspectives, different end of the spectrum, depending on their vantage point of view, depending on how they look at things, depending on what works for them. Everybody has a unique and distinctively different attribute as to what they want in a leader. Some people like loud people. Some people like the quiet, calm person. Some people like the hardworking person who is delivering results. Some people like the other person that is warm, that would come to your ngente, that would go to your funeral. It resonates well with them. Now, this is normal. This is healthy. You can't take away this. That is just the right way and the right thing to do. Even lawyer Dabo himself, I'm sure, when he's looking around, he's got his preference. It's the human enterprise. That's how people operate. He's got his own preference. He would see one and think, oh, this might be the better one. That might be the better one. But because of his leadership skill, because of his experience, he won't come out and say, this is my favorite. He won't come out and say, that is my favorite. No, he won't do that. Because he is a unifier. He will try to unify the party. He will try to keep the party in check. But it is just right. It is just right for people to have divergent views. You cannot install your views into the other person. You can't let everybody like Talib and say by and force it's gotta be Talib. You can't like everybody and say, you know what, the Talib supporters know it's got to be Youngs. You cannot do that. You cannot like everybody and tell them, okay, you know what, it's got to be lawyer Ousainou Dabo. Those things don't happen in 2025. It's not going to happen. You will fight, you will curse, you will insult, you will make disparaging comments. It's not going to change. Like I said before, there are people that would hate me regardless of what it is. I don't give a damn. It's not going to change nothing. It's not going to affect the people that love me. How you see me is not going to change the perspective of how another person sees me. To the person that doesn't like me, to the person that hates me, regardless of how I'm clothed, regardless of how I'm packaged, they're going to hate me. To the people that like me, no matter what you say, no matter the slander, no matter the disparaging remarks, no matter the insult, it does not take nothing from them. And that's the reality. Because people will always see things from a different perspective. People will always appreciate things for their uniqueness, for their objectiveness. That's how it will always be. It's been like that from time immemorial. It will be like that until the end of time. What you see in Talib cannot be what somebody else is seeing in a Youngs. What somebody is seeing in Youngs cannot be something that they're seeing in lawyer Ousainou Dabo. And that is why you're going to allow democratic ideals, party structure, rules, and regulations to take prominence. What you should do is to convince the other party. Let them see Youngs Dabo in the way you want them to see Youngs Dabo. Let them see a Talib Bensouda in the way you are seeing Talib Bensouda. You don't attack them. You don't characterize them with ethnicity. You don't do that because it's just a recipe for disaster. It's just a recipe for disaster. You cannot find a unifying voice when you want to install your ideology. That's what brings the problem in all the world. It's like Israel. It's like Iran. It's like Gaza. If one person believes that everybody should see things from your perspective, in your ideology, in your level of understanding and appreciation, you are changing the status quo, because the human mind was not done in that way. It was not built in that way. Your biological makeup was done in such a way you all can appreciate and see things from different perspectives. It cannot be the same. What I like in Talib might not be what you like in Talib. What you like in a Young's Dabo cannot be what the other person likes in a Young's Dabo. How I respect, or the things that make me respect Lawyer Ousainou Dabo, cannot make you respect Lawyer Ousainou Dabo in that regard. People have divergent opinions, divergent views. And sometimes it's even based on your interaction with the person. So when people say Lawyer Dabo is tribalist, I publicly say he's not. Now, where am I speaking from? I'm speaking from my unique interaction and experience with him. Because I am no Mandinka. He did not judge me as a Mandinka. He did not treat me or make me feel that I was an outsider because I'm not Mandinka. So when I speak on the issues with Lawyer Dabo, I will speak from my perspective. Am I going to install this into somebody else? Am I going to make somebody else believe and understand and force them to see Lawyer Dabo in the way and light by which I see them? No, I cannot do that. What I can do is to continue to preach. What I can do is to make my sermon, my theme, the experiences that I've had with Lawyer Dabo, and make people understand. But if you want to install, if you want to be dictatorial, you want to be rude, you want to be arrogant, you want to forcefully make people believe and walk in that path, that's a recipe for disaster, because people will rebel. People will rebel because that's the natural instinct of man. Initially, when slavery started, people did not fight against slavery. Initially, when apartheid started, people accepted it. They thought it was the norm. But when you consistently and constantly treat people in a certain manner, when you try to force your ideologies, when you try to force your objectivity, when you make people in such a way that they have to see things from your perspective, they will rebel. Because there's going to be a point where people will have to determine things and see things for themselves. It's natural. They don't teach people this. People are not sheep. They're not goats. They're not animals. They've got a power of reasoning. They've got analytical skills. They will use it. They will use it. And at some point, people will rebel. You can't force anybody to see talent. In fact, let me tell you this. Most times, when you try to force people to see things from your point of view by and force, they rebel. So you would see people hating Talib now, not because they hate Talib, not because Talib has done anything for them, but because you're trying to force Talib on them. I'm sure the Talib supporters will start to hate Young's Dabo, not because Young's Dabo is not a good leader, not because he lacks leadership skills, but because you're trying to force them to see things from your perspective. But they are not of the same wavelength. Probably your intellectual experience, your abilities, your understanding of political issues, of governance, your understanding of geopolitics, your understanding of the interface of power play would be radically different from the man in upcountry. That all he sees is a leader that comes and help him to have a borehole when he and his family are struggling and walking 200 meters to get to a well to fetch water. That is their ideology. That's how they see that leader. They cannot see that leader based on his ability to speak well and talk on politics and talk on issues of governance. They don't see that. They don't see how brilliantly he presents his manifesto. They don't understand that. It is outside their realm. What they see is in their day of trouble, in their day of turmoil. Who is there? Who they can identify with. That is that unique ability of that person to see things in that way. That is their world. That is the yardstick by which they measure who they give their heart to. So you can sit there with all your philosophical ideologies and thinking. You can come up with everything, but it's not going to make that person in that lone remote village that saw how this man brought something to him, how he stood. Something is bloody bothering me, man. It's like an insect, man. It's my shirt. That is how they see it. So we need to have a point of convergence. There has to be a conversation of unity where the sermon, the message should be one of respectfully and diplomatically convincing the other to see things in the way you see it. But you don't force it into them. And I think that is what is happening. That is the issue that we're happening. That's the issue that we're dealing with. It's nothing serious. It's nothing that is outside the realms of I mean, it's not that the party is disintegrating. No, I definitely don't believe that. I believe this is a party of resilience. I believe this is a party that has stood the test of time. I believe this is a party that has gone through the fire and they have emerged victorious. I think this is a party that has walked the work. They have done the talk. So I don't think this is going to break the party. I don't think so. But I think the message has to be clear. That it has to be one of unity. It has to be one of understanding. It has to be one that is coherent, one that is simplified, and one that it stands the test of time. Respecting each other's person's divergent views. Omar, it says I can't add you. They can't join your broadcast. Why? I don't know. Omar, maybe you need to restart that phone again. Okay, what is it saying? Hold on. Sorry, Omar is trying to join. Omar, you need to restart the phone again. It's saying I can't add you. Basically, Omar is trying to join the live, but I can't add Omar. So that's what it is. That's what the message should be about. You don't force people to see things from your ideologies. You don't force a person to hate another person. You can't recruit hate. You can't. And that is what is so unique about us Gambians. And most of the time, the point of convergence is not out of necessity, but rather is the common denominator of hatred for the person. Some of these people you see that come together and attack you and do stuff, they don't like each other. You talk to them separately, they're slandering the other person. They're bitter about the other person. But the point of convergence is their hatred for you. That's their common ground. That's where they come together. So some of these people that you see in camps, in groups, they themselves don't trust each other. They themselves don't love each other. They don't like each other. They don't share the values of each other. In fact, most of them are jealous of each other. But their point of convergence is their hatred for you. Their jealousy directed towards you. That is what brings them together. But the truth is, you cannot allow for people and everyone to see things from your perspective. People have to be able to decide and see things from their own understanding and what is unique to them. Omar, I'm trying to add you. And then next, go to the NPP. So really, on a final note with regards to the UDP. Hey, bro.
How's it going, man?
I can't hear you.
I'm able to hear you.
You see this phone, huh? We're going to come to America and mount the phone.
I don't know. I need to go to Apple again
Let me call Manga to come and deal with you.
But I can hear myself, though. I can hear you and probably...
I can't hear you, and I'm sure the audience can hear you. Can they hear you?
No, they can. They can. Bro.
No, they can't. I'm sure they can't. Boy, when did you get this phone?
Boy, I'm a free boy.
Tell me, when did you get this phone, boy?
I got this phone less than a year ago, bro. Like,
is it
a couple of
Alcatel?
months ago. Wait, Alcatel también muelan, boy.
Okay, let's see if the audience can hear you. I'm not seeing any comment. Nobody has commented that they can hear you.
So you can't hear me?
Have you seen any comment?
I'm not seeing no comments. But how comes? But I can hear you. How comes you can't hear me? Why yo? Father than ki munan small telephone be
Yes, we can
alkate.
hear him. So carry on, Omar. They
Yeah.
can hear you.
All right. Thank you, Mel. You know, I think it's very good that these conversations are on. As
I
difficult
can't
as
hear
they are,
anything, but I know you're speaking sense. So just go. When you're done, just smile, and I know you're done.
as difficult as they are, it's important that we have these conversations. We cannot run away from, discussions that have to do in one way or another, ethnicity or, how people brand and ethnic characterize other people. Most of the time people are doing this just to politically divide and conquer. And sadly, you hear it from people that we expect to really know better or probably do better. Now, for the UDP and all these camps that exist, these young politicians basically need to battle it out within the party. And that's very normal. What I found very abnormal is somebody or some people in their corner or in their entitlement to feel that only one person got to be a presidential candidate. No. What has this person done in the party better than other people? What is the level of entitlement? Does it belong to them individually? Why do you think Talib and not Young Dabo? Why do you think Young Dabo and not, Lamin Sane? Why do you think Lamin Sane and not another person? This is a party of people who have equal rights, and anybody who have the desire to become president can actually vie in for the position within the party. And if the internal democracy of the party elects anybody, then of course you are the flag bearer of the party. But just for a people entitled to say, no, it must be this person, based on what? That's what I don't understand. You don't need to be in the UDP to understand that some of these things do not make any sense, because you cannot just jump and say, they don't want to take this person because of ethnicity. Look, when UDP was picking Talib as the mayoral candidate, there were other people, typical Mandinka, who were actually snubbed for Talib to be there. Is Talib more important than them? Is Talib a better candidate than them? Is Talib more educated than them? Does Talib in any way have any, special skills better than those people? No. He was picked because he was the choice of the people. Political, positions or actually choices are not based on you are the most educated, you are the most qualified. No. It's what is in the hearts of the people who are there to elect you to represent the party. And if the people feel like they like Talib, let them pick Talib. If they feel like they like another person, let them pick another person. But to be so entitled in your corner somewhere in America to tell Gambians that, oh no, you must pick Talib, and if you don't pick him, it's because of ethnicity. It doesn't make any sense. That is something that people got to understand, that politics in our society has got to be better than ethnicity and this negative characterization of people based on what you think or what you actually perceive them to be. And at some point, you see a typical Mandinka telling, oh, you don't want to take Talib because he's Mandinka. Oh, he's not Mandinka, or he's this and that. What are you? Who are you trying to provoke, basically? Who are you trying to castigate? Are you telling us that is who you are, that is how you are, that is how you think? Because most of the time, people, what they bring into the public space is their mentality and their ideology and what is filthy in their mentalities. So for me, it's not even about, okay, UDP need to pick this person, you need to pick that person. No, nobody has that monopoly of entitlement to be said, I must be picked. And if you feel that you are not picked because of ethnicity based on what you perceive, go and form your party. And I agree with Youngs on that part. Most of the times, Yanks is not a person that I support a lot, because when he first said, oh no, I'm going to take, like Melvin said, people from the UDP, I'm like, look, you are elected to lead the West Coast region and not the United Democratic Party. Your internal party politics cease when you become an elected person, on behalf of the people to represent the West Coast region. And honestly, this guy has been doing a phenomenal job for the people of West Coast, irrespective of, our ethnic backgrounds here and there. If you're honest to yourself, you will honestly say that Yanks is doing a phenomenal job in the West Coast region. That's not a person that I'm saying people got to elect for the United Democratic Party. If you know Lamin Sane, you will know that this is a phenomenal person with exceptional capabilities and leadership qualities. So why would one person feel that, oh no, it must be me and it's not the other person? Why must other people feel that they got to impose on the United Democratic Party that you must take our candidate, you must take our Talib, otherwise if you don't take him, it's because of negative ethnicity? Who are the people who actually elect people to become candidates in the United Democratic Party? Are they all Mandinka? And if they are all Mandinka, why did they pick Talib to actually lead when there were other Mandinkas from Bakau and other places that were snubbed for Talib to be there? The people who are closely working with Talib, who were not in any way, typical members of the United Democratic Party, who were not part of the United Party, democratic struggles, or were not part of, the party's, hierarchies when it comes to recognition, are the people that are working with in KMC. The likes of MC Jammeh and Frida and other people, are they typical UDP? But of course, that is democracy. That is basically picking people you feel you can work with, and people that you think would add value to what your agenda is. So if UDP is something to go by as per, ethnicity, they could have said, no, the people you're picking are not the people that are from our party, not the people who struggle for our party. But when Barrow is picking people, he picked people from the, MPP. But of course, you pick people in that diversity. What UDP need to understand now, which I think Dabo has made series of mistakes in that regard, because he kept telling them prior to the last elections, or wait for a UDP government to come. There can never be a UDP government, as in in his own characterization of wait for an exclusive UDP government. UDP, like any other party in the Gambia, need an all-inclusive government. An all-inclusive government is opening up to all parties and all stakeholders in the Gambia to join forces to ensure that this disgusting regime is ousted. That is basically everything that people got to see. You cannot begin to say, oh, it must be this person or that person. No, you must allow democratic process to take precedence. You must allow people to pick who they want. And you cannot impose your candidate on people and try to use negative ethnicity against people. You cannot do that. No Mandinka is better than a Jola, no Jola is better than a Wolof. No, we are all equal, and the common denominator is the Gambian. Playing those negative ethnicity style of politics among and within a camp cannot actually derail, the collective good of, a political party or the establishment altogether. So I think, in a way or another, the people that are actually championing this kind of a thing, trying to push an agenda, the person they're pushing it forgot to really speak to them. Otherwise, his silence would mean that he's consenting to what they are doing and he agrees with what they are doing. And we know internally, and of course, on the background, what all that is going on within the party and beyond. So it's important that in as much as you have the desire to become president, do it respectfully and respect the sentences that exist in the political establishment. You cannot do it fraudulently and using other people to go and castigate and insult other people. We've heard from Rohit Maliklo that people have been insulting her year in, year out, and of course the party is not saying anything about it. Some of those people, I found them insulting me not too long ago and trying to characterize me on things that I have no issues with. But the fact of the matter is that these are just a selected few online who are just cyber bullies who will not actually go by the realities that exist in our society. All of these folks in these councils, they are doing well.
I've said that before. I'm holding the phone because I can only hear you from this other phone. But I've said that before. I think that when I had the back and forth with Yunus, and I said it publicly. I said Talib needs to come out because his silence is basically amounting to consent of what is going on. And I said he needs to come out. And guess what? Whilst I was trying to just connect on this phone, I've just seen that he's just done just that. And I think this is the first time he's doing that. He's come out. He's just done a live. I just watched a live video or something where he's saying that
the focus should be. It's important that.
Can you hear me, Omar?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just done a video now, Talib, the mayor, and he's saying that they should avoid all sorts of tribal, rhetorics and ethnic fighting and focus. Because their objective is to unseat Barrow. Let them focus on that. And that's what he's just said. I've just seen that now. I've come across that. And I think that's a brilliant move. It's a brilliant move. And you would expect that a young Stabo and a Landing Sane and Mayor Rohi Maliklo would come out and say the same thing. This is what you expect. That is what is effective leadership. Let them come out and denounce the tribal rhetorics that we're seeing within the party. Because it at the end of the day, it has a way of branding the party to as something that it is not. So it's a good thing that he came out, and really we must commend him. I think it's a little bit. I think it should have been done a while ago, but it doesn't matter when. I think the fact that he's come out now to denounce it is something positive, and it's something that we should commend.
No, but it's important that people come out to speak, because the way things are going, he knows that it's not going to favor him. And, I am not against Talib, but the people that are supporting him, who are actually putting themselves in his inner circle, he's got to really watch his back. Because first, when these issues of the Jammeh Commission issues came up, other people were attacking some of us simply because they felt that if you say something about persons who were involved in the commission, you're trying to attack Talib indirectly, which doesn't make any sense. Gambia is the common denominator, and people got to do politics. It's got to be done, not to game the people unreasonably. And I've seen National Assembly members like how do you even call him? Yaya Mentengsanya. Even telling other people that we are after you, or we are doing this and that. That guy came to my inbox to insult me. And these are the kind of people people that if they are branding themselves around Talib, they're not making any good for him, because instead they're actually casting more doubts on him and then his leadership qualities and skills. Because if you tell me that you can start insulting, castigating, and ethnic characterizing people before you become, president, or before imposing the person that you want to impose on people, how are we sure that you're going to actually lead us to the right direction? So these are the common things that he's got to understand, because I think the UDP as in a party
Who?
has been quite too long, and all of
Who?
these things have been persistent. So it's
Who
good that he
who
made
who
this
came
statement.
who came into your DM to insult you?
This Yaya Menteng Sanyang or whatever. But I know he will not repeat it, because yeah and I were at the UTG together. He knows what time it is. I was like, dude, you want to bring this to the public? I just screw you. You know basically who you're referring to. You don't bring those kind of issues to me. But these are these parado boys who think that, they are so entitled. You can even sit and talk about people that you sat in their sitting rooms and how filthy their sitting rooms are. But when you sat there, you never said that. So these are the kind of things that politics of deception, manipulation, and deceit got to stop. Because within the United Democratic Party, there are people from different ethnicities. I'm not a member of any political establishment, but this is a fact. So if you want a position, you got to vie for the position through the right ways, because the party has its internal democracies. And of course, nobody's going to stop Talib from saying, I want to be president. And nobody's going to stop Young Dabo to say, I want to be president. And that is the body that the party has numerous people who have the capability and the capacity to actually be president. I must an entitled group of people think that it must be our candidate, otherwise we ethnic characterize the political establishment altogether. That doesn't make sense. You cannot impose, those are dictatorial tendencies. And when that person becomes, president, what should the Gambians expect? So they are not putting Talib on the right footing. They're not putting him on the, in good light. And then he's got to condemn some of those activities and actions, because you are not seeing that from other people who want to be president, that they are choosing persons coming out and attacking other people. No. Now, why must they force the UDP leadership to pick Talib? Is that how people are picked in the party? I don't think so. If it is a democratic institution, it has to follow the democratic process. And then loving a candidate, what people need to understand is we don't love people or we don't vote for people because of their education, their experience, their length of service. Is out of love. Go. If I don't like you, I don't like you. And that does not have anything to do with one's ethnicity or whatsoever. If I want to, I can join the UDP and say, okay, I want to be president. Who is going to stop that? If UDP decided to pick me, they will pick me. When Talib was being picked in 2017 or so, where was Talib prior to 2017 in the United Democratic Party? The party could have said that, no, we are not going to pick you based on this and this. But he was picked out of love because the people who were there wanted him to be there. And not because he was better than any other candidate who actually wanted the position. Not that his ethnicity was better than any other candidate who wanted the position. Not that he was more Mandinka or more Jola or more Wolof or more whatever ethnicity he is than any other person. Not that he's more important than all other candidates. No, he was picked out of love. So if he was picked out of love, then it is going to be the same process and the same democratic principles that would guide whoever is going to be picked to be president. And it could be him. But then having people to fight for him in this, using negative ethnicity and ethnic characterization of other people, it will not work. Because it is only going to put him in bad light and is going to, jeopardize his political ambition and his political career. Somebody told me not long ago, oh yeah, if his mother is already trying to sue people to court for telling them what happened in the commission, how about if the son becomes president? All of these things are compounding. And of course, these are things that Gambians are paying attention to. So if he really wants to be president, he got to look internally, because inwardly a lot of things are not going right, based on his support base and the people that are within his circle and the kind of rhetoric they keep sending out there. These people are trying to destabilize their own political party. And of course, you cannot want to lead a political party that other people supporting you are trying to destabilize. So for me, altogether, what is important is either Lamin Sane, either Taliban Suda, either whatever, whoever, anybody who wants to be president has the right and is a member of the United Democratic Party to apply when the time comes. And of course, to seek for votes when the time comes. And of course, if they voted him, then he's the right candidate. It has nothing to do with ethnicity. It has nothing to do with, the region you're coming from. It has nothing to do with, the kind of people you're associated with. It should be based on the internal party democracy and the people that you are able to convince to vote you in to be the, flag bearer of the political party, And that includes even Dabo. If Dabo wants to be president, he can also apply. But people who are there to vote should vote for the person they think should lead the party. So altogether, I don't think, people who are supporting Talib are being honest to themselves. I think they're trying in one way or another, try to disintegrate and, kind of, bring in those commotions within the UDP. For me, my whole focus is not even about UDP and, other parties. It's about having, all these actors coming together to understand that Gambia is what matters, and the regime we have in place at the moment is undesirable. And then the continuity of this regime would basically mean end for the Gambia, because we all see what is happening. So all this infighting within, all these hula battles within the UDP are important and necessary, because the party's got people of high caliber and high standing when it comes to politics, and they have the desire to become president, and which is very good. But then using ethnicity and all this rhetoric to try to qualify or disqualify a particular candidate doesn't make any sense. And it's important that people within the party and outside of the party denounce some of those rhetorics, because our politics cannot be built on that. This is what we said, all the political establishment, like the ruling, class does. They try to ethnically characterize people, inject fear on other people, telling them, oh, if these people come to power, they will chase you out of this country. It doesn't make any sense. So these are the things that people got to understand. And then the people supporting each of these camps have the right to do so. And of course, anybody have a right. I have a right to love you. Somebody has a right to hate you. But they cannot impose their hate on me to hate you. Now, if you basically love Talib, support Talib. If other people love other people, they got to love them. You cannot say that, no, the party must take my candidate, and if they don't take my candidate, it's because of reason A, B, and C. That doesn't make any sense. So long it follows the standard operational procedures of the party and the internal party democracy, that is fine.
But then I think what is happening now is giving the opponents an advantage, an edge. Because like you just said, the message should be one of unity, a unified voice to speak on what the party wants as an ultimate objective. And I believe the ultimate objective of the party is to get to the State House, to get to #1, Marina. That is their objective. Now, with the divergent views, with the infighting, all they're doing is giving President Barrow an edge. And that is factual. You can't, there's no way you can go about that. There's no two shakes about it. What they're doing is putting President Barrow and giving President Barrow an edge. And even though the NPP, they've got their own issues as well, which we'll touch on real quick because I wanted to. But then the message should resonate well. What is the objective of the UDP? Is it the UDP as a party, or is it the objective of one man? That has to be clear, because the objective should be unified. People can have different views, people can have different strategies, different pathways, but the objective has to be one of unity. It has to be a solid, robust position of the party. You cannot have different objectives in one political entity. It will never work. What is the objective of the party? Is the objective of the party to unseat Barrow? If that is the objective, is it the way they're going about it now? Is that what is going to make it happen? No, because President Barrow is not a fool as well. Don't you think whilst these people are fighting, whilst these people are having discord among themselves, they're solidifying their position? That is what the NPP is doing. And at the end of the day, you need to understand that you made mention that the UDP has been branded in such a way that people did not vote for the UDP because they didn't like the UDP, but because they've been branded in such a way that people are scared. They've been told that if the UDP comes into power, they're finished. They're done. This is the message. Now, what you would think is that there would be some sort of consolidation amongst the UDP where that brand, that message, that characterization of the UDP would be dispelled. But instead of that happening, they're fighting among themselves. So that is not good for them as well.
No, the fight, I'm not very much against. The fight, internal democracies, you expect that the Republicans and the Democrats, or the Republicans within the party, would always have those fights. But then it does not take dimensions of ethnicity and ethnic characterization. That is where I have a problem with. Of course, internally, Young's wanting to be president is normal. Talib wanting to be president is normal. And within the internal democracy of the party, there could be tussles here and there. That no, it must be this person, it must be that person. That is very normal. That is actually flourishing for the internal democracy democracy of the United Democratic Party. But whereas it begins to take an ethnic characterization, that I have a problem with. And of course, these are things that have always, been issues that the UDP has been dealing with. And now seeing UDP members using the same tactics to divide the United Democratic Party. We've seen how the NPP, who were, UDP fraction into the NPP, use the same tactics to actually further disintegrate the United Democratic Party. So it's important that these young folks who are basically into politics now, do their internal politics diligently, and of course do it in the most professional way. We don't expect that these younger folks would actually, inject ethnicity into their politics, wherein, picking candidate could be, difficult within the party. But at the end of the day, when one is picked, all of them need to support that candidate and see that this is the collective good of our party. They cannot tell us that, oh yeah, in the Democratic Party, all the people supported one candidate. No, each of them might have their own favorites, but of course they do their internal politics rigorously. At the end of the day, when one person is picked, the party supports them.
The point.
So
the point I was trying to make is that yes, divergent views can be normal. People having the desireship of leadership position is normal. Internal party politics, internal objections, internal disagreements is normal. What is not normal, however, is when that internal objection, that internal dispute becomes the face of the party outward. That is not normal. Because the focus outward should be the overall objective of the party, which is to unseat the incumbent. That is the objective of the party. So internal party politics is normal. Divergent views is normal. People within the party wanting to assume leadership position is normal. But when that conversation from within changes and gives it an outward manifestation to a point that you don't see the party speaking on what they can do, on what they can change in the country, but the focus is on party politics, ethnic background, it's not normal. That is not normal.
Exactly. That's what I have a problem with. But internally to say no, you have a monopoly of picking your candidate. Nobody has that monopoly, and those people trying to actually force that agenda will not work, because you cannot impose on a political party. The fact of the matter is that you can always make your own suggestions, support the person you want, but you cannot impose on the people. Those dictatorial tendencies will not work. We have seen how resilient the United Democratic Party has been. I'm not really often it's difficult to say, but I'm not a very big fan of the UDP sometimes in some of their and sometimes it's mostly because of some of these media commentators who have no authority within the party, who support nothing about the party, but all they do is to come and castigate people on the web.
What is your take, Omar, on did you watch the iAfrica TV interview where Rohi Maliklo, the mayor, Banjul, was the special guest?
And of course, I did not watch it all.
I can't hear you now, but in that interview that he gave, that she gave rather, she made some very damning I don't know if I should call it revelations or accusations, because I'm not sure how substantiated they have been, but what she did say publicly was very damning. And the way I see it, I don't know what is your take. I don't quite, two things are at play, really. One, and that is trying to be objective about the whole interview, is that one, maybe she's frustrated. Maybe she tried in her own way to get the concerns and the issues raised, addressed by the party leadership, by the executive. Maybe it wasn't done, and she feels that she has to come out and make such a pronouncement. The other end is, was that a political maneuvering, basically? Was that statement meant to set a path to a political transfer, as people are suggesting? Is that an indication that she's not happy with the dynamics in the party? And not only that, she went on, because I listened to the interview, she went on to say that there is no factions within the UDP. The only camp in the UDP or within the UDP is the Talib camp. I thought that was a very loaded statement, because the truth is that is not factual. We all know there is not only a Talib camp. the people that accept it, the people that don't accept it, we all know that there are different factions within the party, and the different factions have an objective of wishing or hoping that whoever it is that is the preference, the choice of leader would eventually assume the flag bearership. However, what is uniquely different from the Talib camp is the way and manner by which they're going and trying to install or infuse that obsession and that objective in across board within the different factions, and having and wishing and wanting everyone to see and understand and believe that it can only be Talib or nothing at all, and nothing at all. That is what I see. But the bit that the mayor said that there were no other camps, I don't believe that's factual, because we all know that's not true. You know, no matter how subtle it is, we know that there is. There's a Lawyer Dabo camp. There are people that swear that it's going to be Lawyer Dabo or nothing else. There are people that have sworn that it's going to be a Young's Dabo or nothing else. There are people that believe that it has to be a Landing Sane. And of course, there are people that believe it's Talib Bensouda or nothing else. So there are camps. And nobody can give that a blind eye. So to pick on Talib on that interview, I felt that was, in my view, that's my opinion, I felt that was out of place.
No, wait.
But I'll let you take on with that. That is just my own opinion. I may be totally wrong. I might have lost the ball on this, but I felt that statement shouldn't have come out, because again, what is happening is the United Democratic Party washing and airing their dirty leaning outside. And this is the point I'm trying to make, that rather than have a unified voice, rather than speak to the average guy, because at the end of the day, you need to understand something. Two things are at play. It's not only the UDP people that will vote for UDP to become a. You have the silent people. You have the silent majority who don't say nothing, who are watching on the sideline. And when UDP does assume the leadership, they are not going to be a leadership, a political party for only the United Democratic Party supporters and members. It has to be for every Gambian. So the message now, a year to election, 1 year and a few months to election, should be, what is it that the UDP can do for the average Gambians? I'll let you take on.
No, I will not agree fully with the utterances of the mayor of mayor of Banjul. But first, you need to understand the circumstances on which some of the questions were asked. This lady was specifically asked about an individual who claims to be a staunch supporter of Talib and constantly insulting the mayor of Banjul. Now, you said the mayor is a member of your political party, and probably if the mayor feels like he wants to be president, he also has a right. Or if he feels that he can support another candidate other than Talib, he has a right. But then constantly insulting the woman in the name of you supporting Talib, then he's very right that, of course, there is a Talib camp that is doing everything possible, thinking that it's got to be Talib or nobody else. And of course, visibly, we know, that there are other people who have interest to become, president. And it's very obvious that if we have a political party and then the leadership, a lot of people are seeing that there needs to be a change in the leadership, then the younger folks, most of them in one way or another, would have to vie for those positions. And it's very normal. But then if one person before we got to that point is already out and about, telling people, I want to be this, I want to be that, and we're seeing signs and signals all over from this particular person, and his supporters are busy insulting other people within the party, that is not democratic. You cannot try to impose your candidate by trying to insult, castigate, and ethnic characterize other people. That is where I have a problem with. Whatever the mayor might have said, the camps that exist is the Talib camp, and these are the camps that are highly pronounced. Because as at this stage, we know that Dabo is still the leader of the United Democratic Party. Now, if the party feels that, of course, there is a need for change, all of these younger folks have a right to say, we all want to be president. Now, why would other people feel that nobody else has a right except Talib? Is Talib in any way better than any other person? No. And I know Talib himself would not feel like that. So if people are speaking on, trying to support him in that kind of light, he needs to tell them, no, that is not the way. It's on principle, and of course, it is not written anywhere. It is not biblical to say that I must be there if Dabo is not there, or it must be me or nobody else, or if it is not me because of my ethnicity, or other people using that kind of support to insult and castigate other members of the United Democratic Party. So in one way or another, I think Roy has a point, because you cannot see that Kohamantane defulo ko dara wahulo si mom dara. Somebody's citizens corner somewhere in Europe insulting you on a daily basis simply because they're supporting Talib, and Talib musud see ye wala yabi. So that doesn't. If somebody's constantly insulting me because of you today, and you did not say hello, stop that. That's my guy. I would think that of course you are consenting to what they are doing. So already this is bringing bad blood for not only Talib, but of course people who are supporting him. Because you realize that the response of Young Dabo is not only about the people that are talking shit out there, but of course, who are they talking for? They are talking for Talib. So Talib's got to do something about it. Rahim Malik Low was out there to say, what, the camp that exists is this guy, because the people who are supporting Talib are the ones, insulting Rahim Malik Low. So the people supporting Talib need to do it a little bit more professionally. They got to stop insulting people. And that is just the fact. And they got to stop ethnic characterizing people, because if it is about ethnicity, Talib wouldn't have been there in the first place. If the party is completely ethnic based, then Talib would not even think of being a mayor under the UDP ticket. So these are the facts that surround the things, because we got to look at it from a reflective thinking point. If it is all about ethnicity, it's Adam. Now you can go and join Barrow and say, oh, UDP is a Mandinka party. Is Barrow, anything different? Isn't Barrow? So all of these things are things that we got to be conscious of. Nobody is better than anybody, and nobody can try to paint other people red and paint other people white. We got to be honest and sincerely do our politics in the most decent way. Me, I might not agree with the nature of the internal politics within the UDP, but I fault it primarily on the
Omar,
people who are insulting other people who are basically Talib supporters, and that is just the fact. Because the likes of
but
that
can I
Ghana guy who's
can I also say something though? One thing is also clear. I see your point, and that is exactly what I had said prior, that Talib needs to come out with an overall message. But what I don't agree with you is that you don't expect the mayor of KMC to go after every single individual that attacks a particular person. That's not possible. That's not sustainable. That cannot be done. It's never done anywhere in any political entity. Not in Gambia, not in England, not in America. You would have people that are ready to kill for Donald Trump. You would expect a generic statement, but to always to want to have Talib to identify that particular individual, I think that is not being fair on him. He cannot sustain that. And that is the same thing that is happening. We cannot attribute every single insult of people, of supporters of the United Democratic Party to the party and to the leader of the party, Lawyer Dabo. So, for example, I'll give you a classic example. When I said I was going to resign from the party, you saw what happened. You on social media. Am I going to attribute that and say that is the UDP? It will be remiss on me to do that. It will not be right for me to say so. Can I attribute that on the party leadership to say Lawyer Dabo did not come out to denounce them? No, I cannot do that. But what we are saying is, I understand your point. Talib should speak and let the supporters know that insults and personal attacks has no place in the party. But again, in all fairness, we have seen the party leadership come out. It's not the first time that Lawyer Dabo have come out to say that insults or whatever stuff cannot be the way forward for the UDP. So all I'm saying is, whilst I agree with you, I'm saying that I do not subscribe to that notion that Talib should be going everywhere and telling people. What control do you even know that Talib has over that? I don't know who the individual is, but what control does Talib have over that individual who is insulting Lord Malik Law?
Now listen to me. Evidently, nobody would suggest that Talib can go after every individual who does that. That doesn't make any cut at all. But the fact of the matter is that this has been persistent for too long, and it's important that if you are the leader on whose behalf they're actually castigating other people, it's very normal and very that is common sense to come out and say, you know what, generally, if people are insulting other people, this is not representing me. This is not what I stand for. This is not what I support. Like the United Democratic Party once did. When people were insulting people online, the party leadership came out to say, what? We don't want insulters, and nobody's insulting anyone on our behalf. And that is basically general, that the party makes the disclaimer that if you're insulting people, you are not representing the ideas and the ideals of the United Democratic Party. So if people are insulting other people for a year or more, and then, of course, the people they're insulting them for is not saying anything, I would consider that consent. That is what I mean. I'm not saying that he need to come after each of these individuals here and there, but generally to put out a general statement to say, what, stop insulting people in my name because you're not doing any good for me. Doing that is more or less, putting me in bad light, which is not good. And this is not what I represent. This is what I'm asking for. And like we said, I just saw a video that he did something like that. But that could have been done long time ago because this has been persistent for too long. And of course, nobody will use my name to insult other people and expect me to be quiet about it. And of course, to think that that is very normal because your silence on it would kind of normalize it and people will see it as if you like it or you're in support of it. One thing that I am really saying is that nobody has a monopoly to impose any candidate on the people. The people have a right to make a choice. And of course, within the party's internal democracy, it's very normal that each and every candidate who feels like they want to be president can vie for those positions. And if whereas chosen, they of course can lead the party. But nobody can try to monopolize that and of course impose with using dictatorial tendencies and playing tribal victimization or trying to ethnic characterize other people for not picking the candidate you want. So that's basically what I got to add to that. It's raining out here. I got to go, my man.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I get your I get your point. But anyways, I think Omar has gone. So I'll basically just leave it at that. I think it's a convenient place to sort of end this conversation. But like I said, it was just let me just see this comment. Yeah, so it was just a conversation really on this trending issue. But I'm sure, as a matter of fact, on Monday, I'll be on Facebook Live on Monday really to do an analysis on the cross-examination and evidence and of course subsequent cross-examination, hoping it will all be done in one day, of the three senior government officials that have been summoned to appear before Justice Jaite on the ongoing trial of Hussein Bojang and one other, and yes, that matter. So yeah, definitely Monday it will be 9 p.m. Gambian time, which will be 10 p.m. UK time. We'll come and do an analysis on that and just give an update and the take. And hopefully I might be having a special guest join myself and Omar, and then we'll take it on. But thanks for joining me. It was just a quick conversation to just give my own take on this whole thing that's going on. I gotta go now, but I wish you guys a lovely Saturday and what's left of the weekend. Thank you for joining me always, and God bless.
Keeps escalating and escalating and escalating and escalating until everybody gets involved. Iran jafaran talaja, guy jafaran talaja. Kare ki jafaran. Kabidu. Everybody pray for us. Maybe they are capable, who knows? Manuko ka vola kararo la balon to mobe kungo to mobe la balinkilum bije. When this thing started, this whole flag bearer nonsense, when it started, we knew it was just going to keep escalating and escalating until people do the needful, which is to stop when they were told to stop. That didn't happen. Now it's taking on a different component, a different life of its own. Tribe is now being invoked. And whenever that happens, I will not sit down and keep quiet. You know, people can do all their shenanigans and all their nonsense and say what they want to say. I'm an institutionalist. I'm conservative like that. And, you know, that's what I flow with. But as soon as people start mentioning tribe and then this takes on a tribal dimension, I have to jump in. Because that's the beast we're trying to kill. And unfortunately, I have to call out my ranger buddy. That was a wrong move. In this whole discussion about who should be UDP flag bearer, there should be no invocation or reference to tribe or ethnicity or anything like that. It's uncalled for. In my light. Is it too bright? So generally what I want to say is in politics, in every political situation, politics is not like your family dynamic or your village, even in the village dynamic, there's politics involved in there. So in every political establishment, there are different factions, different, you know, camps, different interest groups, if you like. We saw it with the Democrats and Biden. He should run, he shouldn't run. The AOC bloc, the Bernie Sanders bloc, and all the others like he shouldn't run. That happens in politics. We saw it between Trump and Pence in 2020. We saw it just now between Trump and Elon Musk. So people may have things on the outside where they appear all cool, dandy, fine, and internally they have different interests. And when those interests are challenged or when those interests are on the line, what they do is they flip out. And then it comes out into the public space. So it's nothing new. It's not wrong for the UDP to have people all in different, you know, inclinations. I support this guy. I want this guy to be president. I think this guy should be a better president. I think we tried this approach. It didn't work. Let's try a different approach. No, this approach would be the best approach. Those discussions are healthy. UDP is a democratic party. Sometimes these things cannot be contained internally. They have to come out, you know. At best, some of us will just ignore it. That is why I've never been commenting on it. Like I said, I'm an institutionalist. UDP has a process. From 1996 to date, UDP has a process. Every time we have an election year is when UDP selects its flag bearer. It has never changed. That has always been there. You can discuss the traditions within the UDP, you know, what is the political culture, what is the political tradition, you can discuss all of that. But that has been the norm. UDP was formed in August 1996. Elections in 1996 were held in September. That's when Lawyer Dabo was selected to be the UDP leader and flag bearer. Granted, in the Gambia, traditionally, the leader of the party is always the flag bearer of the party. Everybody gets that. So from 1996 up to date, from only 1996 when the party was formed and the people, you know, pulled their heads together and say, who are we going to select? That's when Lawyer Dabo was selected. There was no contest in it. But after that, whenever the flag bearership comes up, UDP will always invite people to put their name forward if they wanted to be flag bearer. That includes people who are not even members of the political party. Especially in 2011, when Dabo knew that Jammeh has, you know, established a process which was targeted specifically to stop him from running for presidency, they started looking for people outside. That's where Dr. Ezra Toure comes in. That's the reason. UDP is always seeking people. Even in 2016, didn't we have people like Bou Bajinol who were APRC applying to be the flag bearer of the UDP? People were approached outside of the UDP. Look, come to the party. You don't need to be, you know, a member or a leader in the party, or we just want you to be flag bearer. People turned it down. So these things have been happening since 1996, but I guess people who just came to the UDP would not know that, or they have no respect for that institutional process. This is where my beef is. That is where this whole issue is coming out of. Lawyer Dabo gave all for this party. He is the unifying figure in this party. And this is nothing short of challenging his leadership. It doesn't matter how you cap it. It doesn't matter how you tag it or how you label it. This is a challenge directly, a disrespect to him and his leadership and his authority. If you have no respect for institutions, we get it. Leave UDP. Melville did it, or UDP endorsed Batamid. I cannot support this party anymore. I'm going. If you feel the same way, leave. Don't be involved. If you don't want to be a part of it because you don't respect the institutional order that is established, leave the party. UDP has been through a lot. A lot has been thrown at this party. From 1996 to date, the only reason it survived is because of the leadership of Lawyer Dabo, assisted by those people around him, until we got to 2016. So in essence, we can say there was no internal enemy within the UDP because they would have succeeded. When people got frustrated like Waju Aranyol, they left the party. That's what you do. If you cannot get along with the people, if you do not respect the institutional norms of the party, leave and go your way. Nobody is saying you have no right to advocate for who you want to be the leader of the party. But everything, when you do things that are not right and then people go against that, they say, oh, you are camp so-and-so, camp so-and-so. I'm not in any camp. I know UDP has standards. They have established them in from 1996 to date, election year, they select the flag bearer of the party. Yes, one can argue by default, the leader of any party from PPP days to now, NCP, the leader of the party is usually the person they present as the flag bearer. UDP showed that that's not exactly 100% correct. Because 2011, they sought somebody different. It didn't work out. 2016, we all know the party leader was not the person who became the elected or nominated member or nominated flag bearer for the party. So there can be exceptions to the rule. When this whole brouhaha started, Yunus Lakumas, the point was made. Lawyer Dabo, being the calm person he is, being the leader that he is, he came out and addressed it calmly with respect to all sides. What was his response? Oh, the UDP, I am proud. Because you can look at UDP and point to Rahi and say he's the leader. You point to Talib, say he's capable of leading the country. You point to Young, says he's capable. Lamin Sane, Ahmad Sane. All these people within the UDP, that's a legacy and I'm proud of it. But I want to encourage people that it doesn't matter who you support, the UDP does not select a flag bearer until the election year. So let us follow that process. When the time comes, whoever feels like you want to be the presidential candidate, you can throw your name in the ring. Let the people decide. Let the process take its course. Dabo has been challenged in the past. That's how a leader is supposed to operate. People are excited. Okay, you know, the election is coming. Adama Barrow needs to go, but who do we need to select? Yes, everybody should have that opinion. But when he comes out, respects your side that does not support him or think he should be the leader. Respect the side who thinks he should be the leader. He is telling you, let's wait until it is election year. When the UDP's process takes place, then we can select who we are going to select as the flag bearer. And when that happens, let everybody get behind that person. That should be the end of the story. But we will do what we want to do. We will push it and push it and push it until you get people involved and dragged into this whole nonsense that doesn't stop. Now look where we are. And it can get worse. It's going to get much worse until people decide to stop. Respect the institution. It's that simple. It doesn't matter more whatever you do, you cannot impose a leader on the UDP. UDP is not going to select a flag bearer in 2025. That's not going to happen. So why don't you wait until it is time? Do your groundwork. If you're going to lobby people in the party, say, hey, let's support this person, do it internally. You have that access. Why are you coming on here trying to antagonize people? And like I said, I'm going to call out my, Ranger buddy. Tribe has nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing. That was the wrong call. There is this notion within the UDP core. There are people who have been in the party since 1996. They suffered all kinds of injustice in that country, whether directly or through their family members. People lost their parents. People, families were disrupted because of what Jammeh was doing to UDP members and members of the party. All of that, they endured through it, even though they were not directly affected. Until we came to 2016, like the wall of Lusoti Ambaro. Everybody started flooding to the UDP because now it was easier to perform politics in the Gambia without any consequence. Naturally, that's a human condition. There are people there who were doing all this, suffered all the consequences and everything, feeling their positions threatened. Now that everybody is in here, we're probably going to be ignored or we're not going to be noticed anymore. That naturally happens in every dispensation and it's not in a vacuum. That happened in 1965 or 1959 after the PPP was formed. In the name of democracy, in the name of development, in the name of moving the Gambia forward, the people that carried Jawara on their back to the presidency, he looked among them, and he was justified. I'm not saying he's wrong. He's completely 100% right in doing that. He looked among them and realized, okay, there's only a handful of people I can pick to be in my government if we want to move this country forward. He picked those handful of people, and then he turned to the people that, thanks to the British colonial, injustice, the few people that were educated, mostly Akus and Wolofs in Banjul, were the people he turned to, including some white people, colonial masters, for them to be able to set up the Gambia as an institution, as a state, before they Gambianized the whole civil service. So those people, what did they do? Because they have no political capital, they started fencing themselves in and then excluding the people that carry Jawara on their back. That was the time a lot of people were so dissatisfied that they allied with the UP. Up to the time that Sirif Diba became an opposition figure in that country, they were mostly UP supporters because they felt disappointed. So when that history is there, people have a right to be apprehensive. Hey, we don't want people who just came to UDP in 2016 to be elevated to such a position. What if they leave us by the wayside? I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying I'm not saying their fear is grounded in truth, but it's a real fear that is there. That does not translate to the fact that this person is not Mandinka. So what do we do now in the Gambia? Mandinka exclusion. If you are Mandinka, you should not be vying for political office. Is that the message you're sending? And if the claim is UDP is a Mandinka party, does it matter who we put in front as the flag bearer or the leader of the party? If the party is a Mandinka party, does it matter who is in front? That has no place, absolutely zero place. It doesn't matter. Whenever you invoke tribe, it gets interpreted a million different ways and all of them can be justified. That's why we don't do it. There are people who are genuinely saying that from 1996, that is why Adama Barrow, Dr. Cisse, where were you? That was the reasoning behind it. When this fight was going on, nobody saw you, nobody knew where you were, and then all of a sudden you are here castigating me. That's what Adama Barrow was trying to say. There is an element within the UDP who thinks that. Are they justified? Historically, there's a reason why they're doing that. But we need to get past that and realize for Gambia, if we need to move forward, we need to embrace everybody. And with that trust, people can come in, support each other, and we develop the country without excluding anybody. But if people have that genuine fear and they are addressing it, everybody knows Yankuba Dawa has been in the UDP since, I don't know, he was a child. So if he's interested in leadership position, people can say, oh, this is a guy we can trust because he's been tried and tested through the tyranny of Jammeh. He is no stranger to any confrontation. So if there are people who are saying that we feel like he's the best person, he contests an election, he can win, and now we want him to be, that doesn't mean it's because he's a Mandinka. It's that 1996 versus 2016 concept that is still there. Is it right? If we want to be an inclusive party, that should not be this, framework. It should be based on who has merit. I look at this person, does he have the credibility? Yes. Does he have the honesty, the integrity? Yes. Does he have the qualification? Yes. That's the person we should support. But all of that is to the side. The leadership said it's not time yet. When it is time, the position will be made available. UDP is seeking people who are qualified, feel like they can, to be, submit their application to be flag bearer of the party into the 2026 election. If Dabo decides to put his name in the ring, that's a personal decision. He's going to talk to his family, he's going to talk to his advisors, he's going to talk to people that, he usually talks to in confidence, that I want to do this. If they say, yes, go ahead, he goes ahead and puts his name. Who can stop him? The only thing we can do is say, we're not going to vote for him. If he decides to do it, that's how it's going to go. He puts his name in the ring. If Talib wants it, perfect. He was elected twice. A lot of people see good leadership qualities in him. Let him put his name in the ring. And those who support him can go and advocate within the party and the party's framework and say, okay, this is the guy we should select because A, B, C, and D. If people feel that Yang Dawo is the person, let them do the same thing. And when the whole process plays out, whoever is elected as the flag bearer of the UDP, we all get behind him. That's what happened in 2016. Kabri Adama Barrow unveiled. People were asking each other, "More can you call?" Because nobody knew him. But we knew that was the institution. Even though it was an extraordinary circumstance, it did not happen at a Congress or anything. Because of what happened in 2016 was how Adama Barrow was propelled to the forefront. The leadership was behind him, so we all got behind him. We supported him. That's how people say, oh, Barrow was untouchable back then. Yes, because what was at stake was higher than anything else. If that election was lost, we needed people to stand together and the UDP to still be intact to continue the fight as a pressure group to release those leaders. Or at least keep the spotlight on their plight so that they don't all get murdered in mile 2. When he came, nobody knew him. That's why his entire campaign, until Muloya Dabo Dingolet, ni Fafate Monku no word. Loya Dabo la Karong la si mile too. That's why he came, because nobody knew him. But institutional respect and respect for order and discipline is why people got behind him. And look where he is now. So if the same thing is happening now, calmly, respectfully, he understood your position. Even though with all that he went through, he said, I am proud, there's so many people within the UDP who are leadership material and that people feel like it's time for them to be leaders. I get it, I understand it, and I respect it. It is a moment of pride for me. But let's wait until it is time for us to select our leader, then we can bring these things. There's an internal process to that. Why do we keep going on Facebook and harping and yapping on around people all the time just to, create confusion? Seek attention. You think you are attacking this camp against Yankuba or this camp against Talib or this camp against Lamin Saleh or Rohilo, when in fact what you're doing, you're tearing people down. If you feel like tearing Yankuba down is what is going to elevate Talib, and then people on Young's side think tearing Talib that is going to elevate Young's or Rohi's side, or all four of them have been torn down. That's the future of the UDP, the party you claim that you support, the party you think should lead the country, the party you think has what it takes to lead the Gambia. So if you're tearing everything down that the future of that party is going to rely on because you do not want to listen to the leadership of the party, what does that say about you? Leave. It's as simple as that. Like I said, Wajuara, when he was frustrated, he left. Dembo Bojan, when he was frustrated, he left. The person who's been keeping that party together, gluing it together, is Dabo. But now we have people inside who we can consider as internal enemies, bent on disrupting everything. Because you attack people, they're going to respond. And then it escalates. And it keeps escalating. So on the one hand, there's that utter disrespect and total disregard for institutional processes and the authority. And it manifests itself as indiscipline and willful determination to persist in that which you know only furthers division and disrespect towards certain elements within the party. It is arrogance. And the excuse that, I have a right to my opinion. If this is a democratic party, we need to, everybody gets that. Nobody is saying that you cannot have a preference as to who you think should be the leader. Doesn't matter, let me even go and plug Per Gomez from NPP and bring him and make him UDP presidential candidate. It's not time yet. I see that story here. They will testify that it's true. Pabi ala bungolo metalor na baramen jimbo so finally the jimbo kiji. So kontano kona ala pilialo la ndija la fanko la ndija fo bangole mbabe e non ko mari nja ko nyimba na solo de nuosi na sadio mbasit la jande ngator non ko mari nja ka jube ni amoy sungol ba ma asatra da fo man tara sire nja wato fo nyandi suma be diare ala muso be sire nja mo ne ron ko la ka ko ni asiri jabe ngo jungula way fo de batar ramna fo sadio be ngo jungula fo te mantra ba mania nyo sabo fo bulo sire nyo mo ram kabri fatar dal na de nyenenka ko bar nyene kana kawo por banna salmansi saji mansa muso di mangunu ma folo saka setam muna wo songa si la fa ka nyo kelendo uda is exactly what is happening. Saji mansa dim mansa banna salmansi how dim manso banna salmansi alta da ka kele because message se de rasit la nyasi jabi ndo jongo dim manso folo. So why are we doing that? So that's people on the one hand, you insisting that this is how it should be. When you have no say, no power, until the Congress is held, the UDP selects its leadership and then advertises the position for flag bearer. That's when that all is going to go come into play. What the right approach is for you to do is start mobilizing internally. Seek people who think like you, that this person should be the flag bearer of the party. Okay, how do you think we can go about it? If you are on the other side and you don't believe that the process is going to be fair for your candidate, what mechanisms are you going to put in place from now against that time to make sure it is fair, free, and devoid of any cronyism? That's what you should be doing internally, not coming on Facebook and yelling at people and screaming at people and calling each other names. So that's people on one hand being that extreme. On the other hand is the same disrespect and disregard for as soon as the party leader comes out and says, this is how we're going to do it. I understand your position, but let's wait for this time. Anything you say on top of that is disrespecting him. That is why I said this all boils down to disrespecting Dow, disrespecting the UDP. and determined to tear it apart, because there's no other explanation for it. You were told that whatever position you are taking, whatever approach you are taking, there is no need for it until we decide, or we get to a point where we're going to make that decision. So hold on to your opinions until it is time for decision making. Then you can come up with what opinion you have and let people discuss it. What are you going to spend the rest of your time doing? Mobilize people. Hey, I think Talib should be the president. Yeah, I think the same too. So who do you think thinks along those lines? Oh, I think Mr. XYZ. Let's mobilize them and see if we can, get the UDP base to support him when he puts his name in the ring. Oh, if Dabo puts his name in the ring, nobody dares put their name in the ring because they have too much respect for him. So somebody who is not willing to make tough decisions like that, you want them to be the leader of the party or the country? You have to be able to make tough decisions. If he desires to, that's his right. Nobody can stop him. But if you want to challenge him to, do so. Let the party members decide, and the selection committee, let them decide. They are all aware of what is being said and what is going on. And people talk to them internally and privately. You don't see them coming on Facebook. They know what the people's concerns are regarding candidate A, B, C, or D. Age, inexperience, divisiveness, so many things. Every candidate you look at, because if people are tearing each other down, we can pick who is saying what about who. So they weigh those decisions, and if you feel like, okay, these people are not going to be fair, then make that known to them internally. The internal process is there for a reason. So all this, the approach, I think the solution is the party leadership. When I say leadership, it's not just Mr. Dabo, it's everybody, but specifically him. He has always been using the carrot approach. Many people don't know this, but he fasts regularly. Sometimes when these issues come up, we interrupt his iftar just for him to talk to people about the issues that are going on. Imagine that. All with calm, all with respect, never angry, never yelling at anybody. Let's do it this way. This is how you should be careful. There are things in the background that you're not aware of. If you come online and say some stuff, you're hurting people that you don't know you're hurting because how close they are to the person you're talking about. So let's be calm. Sometimes we keep him on the phone for late into the night when he's supposed to be doing other stuff. After all that, people still insist being online and saying stuff. How much more disrespectful can you be? So it's time for the leadership to stop using the carrot approach. Some people deserve to be called out, named and shamed, or even, expelled. I don't know what the right approach is, because the leadership has all the tools at their disposal. They know which will work more effectively than the other. But if you need to call people out and, shame them, do that. I know they're not going to do that because, that's not in their style to shame people. But if I'm not member, Setan Mantola Goba. Maybe that's the point that we got to. People need to stop this nonsense. It's not getting us anywhere. The National Assembly is gearing up, preparing to come and talk about this borrowed draft constitution, and here we are fighting each other for something stupid, because it's stupid. Nobody can change the trajectory of what is happening. If you feel like the UDP should select a flag bearer, as soon as the election is over, the candidate lost or win, we're going to select our next flag bearer immediately after the elections. Propose that at the Congress. Let them include it in the constitution, so the constitution will change. But have some respect for internal processes. If you are new in UDP, these are the traditions that kept the party going, despite everything that Jammeh threw at UDP. It's because people recognize leadership. Even when you don't agree with them, you still respect them. And you abide by what they say. Because that's what the majority supported. When we make a mistake, when the party makes a mistake, it comes back and rectifies. The whole 3-year, 5-year thing. UDP was part of the coalition building when Dabo was not around. When he said that 3-year, 5-year thing, we all saw. What did they do? They held a press conference, basically the leadership of the party, and made Mr. Dabo clarify that this is my personal opinion. It doesn't reflect that of the UDP. That's how institutions operate. If you don't, believe in what position they have taken, just step back and let it play out. Because the majority carries the vote. That's how democracy works. Sometimes even in cabinet, you will hear it. I was opposed to this, that, or the other, but it happened anyway because majority of the cabinet voted for it. But are you supposed to come out and be a disruptor? No. you just realize that, okay, my position is not as popular as I would like for it to be. Other people have other positions, and at the end of the day, they won the day. So, you know, this is the end of the story. I'm not going to be the one who will be a disruptor in there. But we have so many people who are disrupting right now. So what we're witnessing is self-immolation. Self-immolation, like I said in the beginning, you think that by tearing down, you know, candidate X or potential candidate X, I'm going to elevate my candidate. And then those people who are supporting candidate X say, I'm going to tear down your candidate so that I can elevate my candidate. At the end of the day, you're just cutting down your roots, you're cutting down your branches, you're cutting down the whole damn tree. For what reason? But you cannot seem to see that. Every single day is the same damn thing on Facebook. You know, it will wear off, you know, when they get it out of their system, it will wear off. Now we are in completely different territory. And it can only get worse from here. The best thing to do is just log off, go calm down, and wait for the process to unfold. If you cannot wait that long, move away from the party and go do your own thing on the outside. And the problem that we have in the Gambia in general, not just within the UDP, is when people feel like they are right, they cannot see anybody else's perspective. From the beginning, this is what we're saying is going to happen. We will end up tearing each other down. And what does that feed into Barrow's inner system? These are not people you should trust as leaders of the country. Like they say here, democracy can be messy. But there's no better alternative than it, where everybody has a voice. The problem is, how do we exercise that voice? You could be right. In fact, you might be right. But how you approach issues, how you address them, makes the difference between you being right and your approach leading to complete disaster. So people need to be calm. People need to be respectful. If you feel like the process is not favorable to you, or is a process you cannot get behind, nobody is stopping you from leaving. Go do your own thing. Stop being the source of discord in a group where people respect each other. 20+ years this party survived. Nobody ever had any kind of this brouhaha out in the public. 10 years after the tyrant has been defeated, or less than 10 years, here we are. And who is responsible for it? The people who persist in their wrongdoing, even after the party leader has spoken. If you have no faith in the leadership that they are going to select the right candidate when the time comes, or that the process is going to be fair, why are you in the party? Why are you still there? People have a right. My wife is selecting me for president. That's another thing too. And by the way, I'll endorse that. So, you know, that's another thing too. Leaders need to be tested. We all know people can have their misgivings about one candidate or the other candidate depending on what their, you know, perception on life is, or how they think things should be approached. We all saw it recently from the, the protest. Suddenly, X for president, Y for president, all from the same, you know, protest. That's what it takes in the Gambia for people to be elevated to a certain status. But it requires a lot more than that. And when people are raising those concerns, it is genuine. The best way to deal with it is internally. Let's not create enemies amongst ourselves just because we disagree on who is going to be the flag bearer, when the time for deciding that has not even arrived yet. So this is not a challenge about who is going to be the flag bearer, because like I said, if you think that that's all you're talking about, it's not. You're disrespecting the institution. You are disregarding all the norms of the institution. You're disrespecting the person of Mr. Dabo. This is a direct challenge to his leadership. Nothing else. The leadership of the UDP changes at the Congress. It's as simple as that. maybe going forward, we need to, change certain things. Like I said earlier, if you feel like once the elections are over, that's when we should decide who is going to be our next flag bearer, and we start preparing them, propose that at the Congress, let them include it. If it is not included, you will be told, okay, this is why we are not going to do it. Do you think if Yahya Jammeh knew about Adama Barrow before the time that he was unveiled, he was not going to stop him? Even after winning the election, you know? So sometimes these things, you don't need to unveil them. There's no need for it. There's a lot of potential. Let the people, let there be suspense, if that's what it takes. What are we in a rush for? And everybody who's thinking that, oh, if UDP doesn't do this, it's their fault that Adama Barrow stayed. Okay, fine. If it is UDP's fault, then blame Yunus. Because he started all this. Now it never gets old. It's the same old thing. What we should be focusing on is how we should remove Barrow. So if people think that, let's just leave UDP by the wayside, fine. People have options and they have a right to do that. But one thing is true, 100%. There's no doubt about it. If anybody can remove Barrow from power as a single entity, it's the UDP. Yes, it's probably going to be hard or maybe even unlikely or impossible to do it because he's the incumbent. People have that. But if anybody, I'm saying if anybody can do it as a single entity, it's the UDP. If you think that's not possible, only a coalition can take Barrow out. No coalition will succeed in the Gambia if the UDP is not part of it. Absolutely none. They have no chance. So that means that UDP is no bystander in this. It's not somebody you can discard to the side. So if you're sitting out there saying, oh, it's a civil war inside the UDP, let's have our popcorn and enjoy it. Yeah, it's part of the democratic process. Sometimes when your opponent is having a rough patch, for you to enjoy it. But make no mistake that change in the Gambia cannot happen without the UDP being a part of it. That's just, nonsensical. If anybody thinks that, you're just fooling yourself. So let's stop all this. When we're discussing issues, let's not invoke tribe anywhere in it. That Mandinka exclusion is not going to happen. It's not going to work in that country. We all witnessed what Yahya Jammeh did here. Put people in positions of power because they share the same ethnicity. And then when the commissions came and people were being challenged and, held to account, we started saying, oh, they're attacking a specific tribe. But when it was happening, nobody said anything. Look at Barrow's government. He thrives on that Mandinka exclusion. You don't hear people talking about it because it's okay just to exclude the Mandinkas, right? Everybody else is fine. I don't care who he selects. There are political appointments. You can appoint whoever you want. When your government is over, those people will all go. We just select new people again. That's how political loyalty and reward, works. Look at Trump's government. How many black faces do you see there? It doesn't matter. Those are the people he thinks are loyal to him and will promote his agenda. So that's how politics works. That's political appointment. When we have a new constitution, where certain appointments have to go through the National Assembly, you're going to have to select somebody who is qualified. And it doesn't matter which tribe they are from or which ethnic group they are from. I care less. Ethnicity is something that is very sensitive because that's something you did not choose. Everybody should know that. You should not bow your head down because you are a minority in a country. That's who God chose you to be. That's God's decision that you are going to be born into that family, and the family will be of a certain ethnic group, and they will have certain values. They will speak a certain language. That's where you were going to be born. You didn't choose that. So why would you be ashamed of it? Or start to, compare it to something else? Being Muslim, being anything else, mostly is by choice, even who you marry. But who are going to be your children? Where were you born? What language are you going to speak? Those are all divine decisions. So why should you hate somebody for the ethnic group that they are? Or saying that this ethnic group cannot amount to anything in this country, because essentially that's what is being said. If people decide that, if somebody is a Mandinka, we're not going to vote for them, that's their problem. It shows how little they can think. Qualification is what should, drive people in deciding how they vote. Whose character speaks to you best? Who do you think will be in power and serve everybody's needs? That's what it should come down to. So let us just cut out this whole discussion about ethnicity. We're making some progress when it comes to that. If you feel like, if UDP selects somebody who is not a Mandinka, then that's the chance. What about the support base of the UDP? Because there are people who say the party is a Mandinka party. What do we do? Get rid of every Mandinka who is in the UDP? Or if you are, Mandinka used to be opposed to a Mandinka just so you can prove that you are loyal to the Gambia. I don't know about anybody, but I'm not trading my ethnicity for anybody. I am who I am. That's how God made me. He made somebody else and made them into somebody who, that they are, born into a different ethnic group. I respect that because that's divine decision. You don't go against that. If you go against that, you're just challenging him. Who made you to hate yourself, like Malcolm X would say. So in all of this discussion, there should be no mention of ethnicity. In fact, if that is the case, I'm glad that Talib came out with the video that he did. In the Gambia, when you say ethnic groups, you say Wolof, Mandinka, Fula, Jola, Saraho, Serer, Manjago, Aku, Bainunka, you don't say Moroccans or Nar. We consider them as people who came into the Gambia and are not native there. Part of Talib's family is considered that. The rest of his family, he said it, they're all Mandinka. So what is your yardstick for saying, Mandinka this or that? We need to move away from that. This discussion can be had. In fact, it should not be had. Like I said, if you feel like, Talib, Youngs, Landing, Rohi, Lamin Sane, Amadou Sane, if you feel like these are the people who should be, go start doing your homework. Canvass within the party. Who do you think is aligned with your view that this should be the candidate that the UDP should select in 2026, and then start working with those people. Okay, I think if we don't do this, or I think the process will be flawed in this way or that way, or I think this person has too much influence and we need to work on the internal and try to rectify that so that when the process comes, everybody will feel like it's free and fair. That's the bottom line. Listen to the leadership, respect institutional authority. Respect the process. But people persist in their arrogance. I don't want to do this. This is who I feel like should be. And then you're taunting people. When you taunt people, they reply. That's how extremism works. Negativity is a cannibalistic entity. It feeds on cannibalism. It eats its own in order for it to survive. You won't see people spreading positivity and then another person just, getting all riled up. That is why social media is the way it is. It keeps you hooked because it keeps showing you things that will get you riled up. And you see who the next commenter is. That's just human nature. That's how negativity works. You don't push people to the brink and then go pretend like nothing happened. Because you bring out the worst in people when we should strive to bring the best out of each other. The people you can reach out to in private, you reach out to them in private. So when things boil over into the public like this, we all have a responsibility to speak out. And people need to get it out of their system, because after this, when it moves forward, after this, it's going to get very personal and probably very nasty, and we'll jump into it. That's just where we are right now. It's enough. Wait for the process to unfold and then go fight for your candidate. If he wins, celebrate. If he doesn't, respect this process. Let's all give it our all to the person that was selected. After everything Trump did in this country, from the time he was elected to now, all the racism and all the anti-Semitism and all the, anti-immigrant position and inhumane treatment of people, what did the Republican Party, I'm not saying we can use them as an example because they are not the best example. But the process played out and he came out on top. It doesn't matter. When that happens and then somebody gets selected to be the flag bearer and you feel like, okay, this is the end for me, I cannot get behind this person, that's when you leave the party. And then sit on the sidelines and see if that person proves you right, that, okay, this is why I didn't want to support this person, or if they turn out to be the opposite of what you expect them to be. Then you can come out and say, this is why I didn't want to, and here's how we can rectify it, and maybe that time you will be listened to. Look at Adama Barrow. Jammeh is killing our people and all that. This guy is, Gambian, humble in Gambia is Budut Nimbure. Yeah, you have that demeanor. Poverty is what made him, humble. That's where his humility lies. We all rooted for him. And look how he turned out. Some people looked at his face and said, nah, this is not the guy. I'm not going to support this guy. But we shut them down because what was at stake was either him or Jammeh. Because the process played out. That is the coalition arrangement. It played out. And when you want to look at how a process is respected, look at that process. Khalifa got behind him, Oji got behind him, all the political leaders who were part of the process got behind him, even though they knew they were better qualified than him. But they got behind him because Jammeh needed to go. That is why people were relentless in saying, you cannot speak against this man, because he is what stands between us and this tyrant going. If Jammeh won in 2016, we will be crowning a king now. Today outside, I was driving, I saw people with no king banners. They're protesting against Trump's military parade. When that same guy from Banjul said we should coronate Jammeh as king, he kept quiet about it. He was waiting for 2016. After he had Dabo and Co in jail, and nobody was gonna, bat an eye, and he killed Solosane and all that, who was gonna stand in his way? If the National Assembly said, we're gonna crown Jammeh king, because this is our African tradition. Yes, men in the National Assembly, Fabagat, Tomanjara and Isco, you think they're not gonna do it? So what was at stake? People were looking at more than that. But look at how Barrow turned out, a complete and utter disaster. And those of us who supported him back then, we are on this side now, fighting to get him removed. That's how you do politics. I keep referencing this. When Jammeh was in power, he was torturing, he was raping, he was killing, he was stealing. We kicked him out. Barrow does not dare kill anybody just yet. He's going to grow that wing if we give him more power. But so far, so good. But the corruption, that is from hell. So if we kick him out and campaign on that, he is corrupt to the core and rotten in his, process of handling the affairs of the country. The next person who comes will try to avoid killing people and try to minimize corruption. And if we are not satisfied, we kick him out and bring somebody else in. That person will be less corrupt and absolutely 100% definitely will not attempt to take the life of a Gambian because they are opposed to him. That's how you improve the system and make it better, until some crazy person like, the guy we have here comes along and turns everything upside down. Then we realize, okay, he has a weakness he exploited, he has another weakness he exploited. Let's, That's this whole tribalism thing. Yeah, Jammeh exploited it to the core. That's why we're trying to kill that, so that we can all unite and be one people. But when it keeps popping its head up in the country and then it's all directed to one group, that's not going to work. Because whenever you attack people, they're going to stand up for themselves. That's just how it works. And then the whole thing escalates and goes to hell. So let's follow the leadership. If people are not willing to listen to the leadership, the last thing we will accept here is disrespecting the leadership of our party. Especially Mr. Dabo, who gave it all. If he wants to run, that's a decision between him, his family, and those people he seeks advice from to help him come to that decision. Anybody else who wants to put their name in forward, don't be deterred by that. If he puts his name in and you feel like you can do a better job or that you should be the one, put your name in. That's not disrespecting him. That's challenging him. There's a difference. And if your candidate happens to be, or the person you like happens to be one of those people who put their name in the ring, go support them. But do it in an atmosphere of respect. That's all we're asking. Respect is the bottom line that nobody is going to go down. Like, that's the red line. You go past that, then we come after you. That's why people keep saying, oh, you say anything, they come after you. No, we don't come after you for saying anything. We understand politics can be banter, it can be jokes, people can be satirical about politics and all that. We understand that. But when it borders on disrespect, who in their right mind will say that Lawyer Dabo is disrespectful to anybody in that country? Political opponent, activists alike, or that he doesn't respect himself. So the minimum he deserves from us is respect, especially if you are within his camp. And he comes out and says, I am proud that you can point to X, Y, and Z and say these are leadership material. That's a legacy the UDP is building, and I'm proud of it. That is not throwing you under the bus. That is not saying, oh, you're now eyeing, like Adam Obaro would say, I will not make anybody vice president who wants to eye the presidency. He didn't do that. He respects your opinion. He respects your view. He respects your choice to think that it is time to move to somebody else other than him. He calmed you down and said, let's wait for the time. What is wrong with that? It doesn't matter how you cut it. It doesn't matter what you tell yourself. You're disrespecting him and you're disrespecting the institution. And I think the leadership needs to come out and end this carrot approach to things and pick up the stick, because some people deserve it. Those who want to remain and abide by the rules, we can consolidate and figure out how to move forward. But we cannot have a few disruptors within the party. For over 1 year, who refused to listen to anybody. Group calls, group meetings, private direct messages, personal messages, all of it happened within that 1 year. But it keeps escalating. Every few weeks, up a notch, up a notch. We're not going to sit down and drown in that. 2026 is close. And all efforts need to be on board. Those people you are fighting for, they are all in the UDP. All they're saying, let's fight for a UDP government. They're not saying let's fight to make this person president or that person president, because they're waiting for the process. They're respecting the institution. Why can't you do the same thing? The person you're fighting for is respecting the institutional order that they are in. What is wrong with you not doing the same thing? That's all anybody is asking for. Wait for the right time. In the meantime, go canvass for your candidate. Find people who share similar sentiments with you and, bring them on board. Put your heads together and then, when the time comes, do everything you can to get that person nominated to be the flag bearer. Anyway, a word to the wise should be enough. It's not enough. It should be enough. So, people will continue doing what they're doing because they're adults. Nobody can control them. But the disrespect will have to end. That much we know. You cannot say, oh, Ladabo is a good person, Ladabo is this, Ladabo, but whatever follows that but, it better be factual and issue-based, not personal and disrespectful. If you wonder why he meant so much to so many of us, look at what happened in 2016 after Solo Sanda was murdered. That's the kind of leader that people get behind and stand behind. That's what it is. It's not because, he is infallible. It's not because no. It's because he's been there for his supporters. He's been respectful. Regardless of what status anybody is in that party, he gives you the due respect. What is wrong with us according him the same respect? And respecting him means also respecting the institutional order. If we say, let us wait for the process to start, and then we can vie for the candidate or fight for the candidate that vies and we think is capable, then we can do that. Nobody's going to hold anybody to, with, I don't know, contempt for that. It's your choice, fine. If they didn't win, let's all come together and move on. There are some people even in the UDP executive, like diaspora executive, whose friends actually contested or vied against Mr. Dabo in previous elections and they didn't win. Like I said, you can say, okay, if he's there, maybe nobody else has a chance. But that's the test of leadership. Whatever looks difficult, go head on and challenge it. And if you fall short, then you will know where your mistake lies and then you can try again. What cooking you look into? Okay. Anyway, I'll back. We'll catch up later. Okay, my phone is frozen, so